With the Pension Policy Institute, Now Pensions has done some important research focusing on certain inequalities in the system. One of these inequalities is, later on in retirement, the difference between what men are going to be receiving and what women are going to be receiving. On average, because women take time out of the workplace to look after children and later on in life to look after their elderly relatives, they're going to be up to £100,000 worse off than men. This is my son Zach. I had him 9 months ago, even though he looks like a giant. And at retirement, I'm really hoping that he is going to be in line for a good pension pot. If later on down the line we have a little daughter, she's going to be £100,000 worse off. And how is this fair?
I was aware of the gender pensions gap between men and women, and as a woman, obviously, I've always been really devastated about it because I know that I will not be equal comparing to, say, for example, my husband or a man that I work with at the same position. So what do I do about this?
I left school on the Friday and started work on the Monday when I was 16. Worked in an office making like rubber tubing and things for all laboratories and stuff. Sat next to a guy, a really nice guy and stuff next to me, and we just happened to mention about getting paid, and he was earning more than what I was, and I asked him why, and he said because that's just the way it is. I said, but we do the same job, and he said, yeah, but I'm a man and you're a woman, and that's the difference.
As a working mother myself, I have a young daughter of 2.5, and I did actually have a 2-year career break, so obviously it's something that's very pertinent to my personal circumstances. Childcare is obviously very expensive. They say it's more than the average mortgage now, so I'm reliant on my parents as sole child carers of my daughter.
With Pension Geeks, we want to create awareness around the issue of the gender pensions gap. And we feel that if we reach out to the communities and to people to discuss these issues, we will create greater awareness. And with greater awareness, people, and particularly women in the workplace, can make better decisions around their pensions arrangements and child work care. We need to make it easier for working mothers to come back to work, and the way to do that is by having better flexible working arrangements.
So we're looking at things that we can do to remedy the situation. For members, they need to be looking at, could they just save a little bit more? Women need to be saving between 5 and 7% more than their male counterparts to make up that difference at retirement. For employers, how can you help get women back into the workplace? One of the main ways is flexible working patterns. So could you be a little bit more flexible if women are dropping off their kids at nursery, for example? And then lastly, we're looking at, how can the government help? Policy change in the government can actually really make a big change.
I think in today's terms, I think there's a lot more information out there for women like myself, and employers, you know, need to play a larger role in talking about pensions, what options are open to you when you first join. You know, you've got to try and get the best possible outcome for yourself, because when you get older, that's when you're going to need it.
As a working mum, of course it's not easy, but then you have to work around things, and thankfully employers are nowadays making adjustments to make life easy for working mums. So for example, the employer that I work with, they've made it flexible for me to work from home, which makes my life fairly easy, and also it helps me to work and be able to contribute into my pensions. And I think one thing that employers should be doing nowadays is to encourage more and more women to be able to work even though they've had children, because that's not the end of the world. You can always pick up your life after having had a baby. Don't forget to put aside the monies that you need to make your life comfortable in future, and that's what I tell myself every day.